Hey guys, got more random battles for you. Let's get right into it. They start off with Hallelujah, I start off with my Slitherwing. I go right for the Terror Electric, they start dancing with some swords. I go for the Wild Charge, take out the Hallelujah in one shot. I take a good amount of recoil. They then decide to go into their Florges. I decide to switch into my Slacking. They go for the Calm Mind, get those boosts, then go for the Protect. I end up going for the Giga Impact, does nothing for the Protect. I then decide to switch into my Uxie. They start Calm Minding again. I then decide to go for the T-Wave, paralyze the flower over there. He goes for the Moonblast, does a huge chunk. Uxie just hangs on. I get some lefties. I then decide to set up some Stealth Rocks. They go for another Moonblast, take out my Uxie. I then switch into my Bear Tick, go for the Icicle Crash, completely whiff. He goes for the Wish. I then go for another Icicle Crash. This time I hit, do a huge chunk. He retaliates with the Moonblast, gets that special attack lower, gets that Wish health back. Gets some lefties, then goes for the Protect. I go for another Icicle Crash, do nothing. He gets some more lefties back. I then go for another Icicle Crash, take out the Florges. He then goes into his Floatzel, takes some rocks damage. I decide to switch into my Brew Bonnet. He goes for the Liquidation, does nothing to my Mushroom. He takes some Life Orb damage. He then goes for the Ice Bear, does a huge chunk, but I hang on. I then retaliate with the Seed Bomb, take out the Floatzel. They then go into their Brute Bonnet, take some damage from the rocks. I decide to switch back into my Slacking. He goes for the Terror Fighting, close combat, does a huge chunk, Slacking hangs on. He gets a defense lower, gets some lefties back. He then goes for the Sucker Punch, Slacking tank stat, retaliates with the Giga Impact, takes out the Mushroom. They then decide to go into their Mew, take that rocks damage. I'm loafing around, have to recharge. He goes for the T-Wave, completely misses. He gets some lefties back. I go for the Giga Impact, take out the Mew. They then decide to go into the Veluza, take some rocks damage. I'm recharging over here. They go for the Night Slash, take out the King. I then decide to go back into my Brute Bonnet, go for the Sucker Punch, take out the Veluza. Good game. At this time I ask you guys to please like, comment, share, and subscribe as it really helps out the channel. Without further ado, let's get into game 2. I lead Frostmith, they start Gastrodon. They immediately switch into the Cleaver, I start Quiver Dancing, I go Terra Water Giga Drain, do a huge chunk to the Cleaver, but he hangs on. He retaliates with the Stone Axe, does a good chunk, gets those rocks up. Returns to the Gastrodon, I go for the Giga Drain, take him out in one shot, get all my health back. The Giraffe with the Hoodie then comes in, I go for the Ice Beam, do a huge chunk. He retaliates with the Hyper Voice, does barely anything. He gets some of his lefties back. I then start the Quiver Dance again, getting a little bit aggrieved. He goes for the Foul Play, Frostmoth takes that. He gets some more lefties back. I then go for another Ice Beam, take him out. His next Pokemon is the Goodra. I go for the Ice Beam, take him out in one shot. He then goes into the Berserker. I go for the Giga Drain, do a little bit, get some health back. He goes for the Crunch, does a huge chunk, but the Moth hangs on. I then go for the Hurricane, do another good chunk. He hangs on, takes me out with the Crunch. Iron Valiant decides to come in then, takes a little bit of rock damage. I go for the Close Combat, take out the Cat. I lose some defense, take some Life Orb damage. He then goes into his Lock Kicks. Goes for the First Impression, Valiant hangs on. He takes some Life Orb damage. I go for the Close Combat, Lock Kicks hangs on. I lose some defense, take some more Life Orb. He then goes for the Sucker Punch, Iron Valiant sticks around, he goes down to his Life Orb. Cleaver then decides to come back in as his last Mon. I go for the Close Combat, take him out. I lose some defense, eventually go down to my Life Orb, but good game. Alrighty, let's get into that third game. They start off with the Masquerada, I start off with my Mismagius. I immediately go for that Terra Fairy, Dazzling Gleam, one shot the Masquerada, off to a great start here. Corviknight then comes in, I decide to switch into my Bruxish. He starts flexing those muscles right in my face, gets an attack and defense boost. I start dancing with some swords to retaliate. He goes for the Brave Bird, does a huge chunk, takes a little bit of recoil. Gets some lefties back, I then go for the Wave Crash, almost take out the Corviknight, but I go down to recoil. He gets some of his lefties back. I then decide to go into my Oricorio Pow, go for the Quiver Dance, get my boost. He goes for the Roost, gets a huge chunk back. Gets some more from the lefties. I then decide to go for another Quiver Dance, keeping the dancing going over here. He goes for the Brave Bird, does a huge chunk, Oricorio hangs on. He gets some recoil, takes some lefties. I go for the Revelation Dance. Corviknight just hangs on, goes for another Brave Bird, takes out my bird. And he hangs on from the recoil. Mismagius then returns to the battle, go for the Dazzling Gleam, take out the Corviknight. The Menace Regieleki then decides to make an appearance. He goes for the Volt Switch, does his 40, and then decides to switch into the Toxicroak. I go for the Dazzling Gleam, does about half to him. I then decide to switch into my Gastrodon. He goes for the Gunk Shot, Gastrodon eats that up. He takes some Life Orb damage, I get some of my lefties back. He then goes for the Close Combat, Gastrodon just hangs on, he gets that defense lower, takes some more damage, then finally goes down to the Earthquake. I get some more lefties back. Future Delibird then decides to come in, goes for the Freeze Dry, takes out my Slug. I then decide to go into my Komala, get that Comatose going. He goes for the Ice Beam, gets a crit, does a little bit over half. I go for the Body Slam, do half, get the Parahax. Now outspeeding, I go for another Body Slam. Iron Bundle just hangs on, but I get the full Para. Go for another Body Slam, take him out. Regieleki finally decides to come back out, goes for the T-Bolt, Komala just hangs on, I go for the Body Slam, do a huge chunk to him, but he hangs on, goes for the Volt Switch, takes down my Komala. He then pivots into his last mon, the Iron Jugulus. I go back into my Mismagius. He goes for the Terra Flying. I go for a Dazzling Gleam, do 40. He goes for the Hurricane, completely whiffs me. I go for another Dazzling Gleam, do 40 again. He connects with the Hurricane, takes out my Mismagius. I then go into my last mon, the Leafeon. Go for the Double Edge, take out Iron Jugulus. I take some Double Edge recoil and some Life Orb recoil. We finally get down to the one-on-one, but my opponent decides to forfeit. Good game. Alrighty, and that's the video. Please let me know what you guys think down below and stay tuned for future content. Peace!